All right, y'all. Good morning. We're live on the Falcons podcast on Monday morning on YouTube. Let's bring in a Facebook group, Atlanta Falcons on SI and X. That's at Scout Kennedy. We'll get going. Apologizes for being just a few minutes late this morning, but we're ready to go, and we are good. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons podcast. It is a Monday morning. We are back in the saddle after spending last week in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl. And a lot has happened in that time, so we got a lot to talk about. Falcons have hired a general manager. They've hired some very experienced staff to Kevin Stefanski's offensive staff. And then we'll get into some of the players that we like from the Senior Bowl that could be day 2 and day 3 options there. Before we get going, I want to say hello to some folks that have come in nice and early today before we even really got started, like John Harrell. He's coming in. He's a member. Thank you for being a member, my friend. He says, good morning, Scott and the Falcons family. That's all, y'all. He says, okay, Scott, who impressed you the most? Talking about Senior Bowl. So we're going to get there. We're gonna start on that one real quick. Let's see. Who impressed me the most? Probably, if I'm going my first pick, like as far as draft prospects and stuff, I would probably go... Let me get his name on here right, since now I can't find him. Number 70. And where that was Markel Bell, right? Markel, I just want to make sure I got that right. Yeah, it's because his number is not on there. Out of Miami, Markel Bell out of Miami, offensive tackle. He's listed 6'8", 340, and he can move. He was playing left tackle. He's playing right tackle. I'm not sure I saw him lose a rep. And there's some stuff in there I've put up 2 days of 1v1 highlights. I'm also going to go through team stuff, see how he did. Because some guys do better in 1v1, some guys do better at team. Obviously team's more important, but the 1v1 is so hard on the offensive lineman because it's always 3rd and 15. You've got no help from the guard, no threat of the run. You've got no help from a tight end, no help from a running back, a stationary quarterback where you know he's going to be, that it's totally skewed towards the defense. That if you can get anybody that looks even adequate on the offensive line in that drill, you got somebody. So I'm going to say Markel Bell, offensive tackle, Miami, 6'8", 340. And I think coming in, he was listed as a UDFA. Yeah, that ain't happening. If he doesn't get drafted, I'll be freaking shocked. And he says, I hate cold weather. Yeah, I don't mind the cold. I mind it more now that I've gotten older, I'll tell you that. But what I don't like right now is the dark. I don't like getting up in the morning in the dark. It doesn't feel like I should be out of bed till the sun's. If I'm beating the sun's up, I'm not happy. So, I'm ready for some sunshine here. Austin coming in. Good to see you, Austin. He says, good morning. At first, I wasn't sure about the Tommy Rees hire, but seeing the rest of the staff come together helps. Experience seems to be a common theme here. Yeah, the Falcons have four former offensive coordinators on staff. Including Kevin Stefanski, who was an offensive coordinator before he took a head coaching job. They have 4 on staff now. They've got obviously Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees, who has been an offensive coordinator. And then they've got Tanner Engstrand, who has been hired as the passing game coordinator. And then they've got Alex Van Pelt and Bill Callahan, the quarterback's coach and the offensive line coach. Let me play this for y'all here real quick about Alex Van Pelt. This is from Gerard Mayo, who was head coach of the New England Patriots and had Alex Van Pelt as his quarterback's coach. Hopefully this will be plenty loud enough and y'all can hear it. Let me play this for you real quick. This is what he had to say last year about Alex Van Pelt.
And huge. I say, look, there's no one in this organization that deserves more credit as far as what Drake has been able to do on the football field than Alex Van Pelt. When we interviewed Alex, I would say when we interviewed all of the coaches that are here, one of the prerequisites or requirements was a guy who's level-headed and a guy who believes in working together and a guy who, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. And that's Alex, and I appreciate that.
So quarterback coach Alex Van Pelt, ringing endorsement from the first head coach for Drake May. He's got a wealth of experience too. So Alex Van Pelt, he was in the league for 15 years, and then he's been coaching for 21 years, including quality control at the Buffalo Bills, quarterbacks coach of the Buccaneers. He did some running backs, quarterbacks, and receivers with the Packers, longtime quarterback coach with the Packers, quarterbacks with the Cincinnati Bengals, offensive coordinator with the Browns, an offensive coordinator with the Patriots, and then he was a senior offensive assistant with the Rams last year. So he's done some really good things as well. And then courtesy of our friend Avian on X, he posted this graphic. I'm not sure where he picked it up. Doesn't really matter. But he says when Tanner Engstrand came from, he was a passing game coordinator with the Detroit Lions. And, as part of that staff from 22 to 24, when he was a passing game coordinator, that's 3 years. They had a 68% completion rate, which was first. Yards per attempt, meaning they were pushing the ball downfield a little bit. 7.9, which is second. Second in passing TDs. And the fifth fewest interceptions. So nice job from Tanner. Now, Tanner's a little bit younger, one of the fewer who's a little bit younger. He's in his low 40s, but that means he's only got, 20 years of coaching experience, including passing game coordinator in college. Picked up offensive coordinator's first real offensive coordinator in professional football, but he was the offensive coordinator at San Diego. Was in the XFL before he hooked up with the Detroit Lions for 5 years. And then he was offensive coordinator with the New York Jets, which didn't go terribly well, but the Jets have been a disaster. Kind of the same thing I said about Stefanski. I'm not going to necessarily blame if someone doesn't have success with the Jets, it might not necessarily mean they're not going to be successful somewhere else. And who just hired, the Titans, I think, hired Robert Saleh. They're betting on that too. And I would have been okay with Saleh coming here as well. So I like the hire, and I like the support system. Now, one of the questions is, oh, man, you got 4 previous offensive coordinators on staff. Is that going to be too many cooks in the kitchen? No, you figure all that stuff out beforehand, before you hire these guys. Bill Callahan's, he's 69 years old, 70 years old. He's on his last run in the NFL. He's just happy to work. We're in a good spot. Tanner is trying to kind of rehab his image after, his last shot at offensive coordinator with the New York Jets. And then Alex Van Pelt, he's just seems to be a really good dude. So I like having the experience there. It was something the staff sorely lacked. They just didn't have answers last year. There was no plan B. If plan A didn't work, there was no plan B. And we saw that in games. It's like, man, Falcons look like gangbusters in the first half. And then they just fall apart in the second half when it's like, okay, the other team makes some adjustments. Now what? I don't know. Give it to Bijan. That's not a bad plan A and B, I guess. Antonio Langford, good to see you. Hope you are doing well. Says, good morning, Scott and Falcons family from the Bay Area, up early. So Bay Area to me is San Francisco. So if you're out there, it is definitely early, joining us at 5:30. Unless it's Tampa Bay, then you're still early. But I would imagine Bay Area is kind of like University of South Carolina calling themselves USC. No, not in football context. And I'm an SEC guy. Come on. But USC is USC Trojans. South Carolina are the Gamecocks. Lackey294 says, good morning, guys. Good morning, right back at you. GATX, he is a dear member as well. Says, good morning, Nick and Falcons family. And Scott, that's all y'all, the Falcons family. The new era is here. Let's go. I love the hires by Matt Ryan. Also love the experience being added by Coach Kevin to his staff. Yeah, so do I. Again, after watching the disaster that was the Auburn Tigers and Hugh Freeze, and having 3 and sometimes 4, if you include the quarterback's ability to change the play at the line of scrimmage, 4 play callers, literally. He had 4 play callers. Oh, well, you're going to call third downs, and you're going to call first down, and this is our third and long play caller. It's ridiculous. There's no way that happens again. There's just no way, but I still get that twitch. I'm like, oh man, that's a lot of egos in the room there. So it's just my cynicism kicking in. I like the experience. I think they need experience. I think they lacked experience. But what's the other side of this is, that's a lot of former egos. That's the argument. I'm not having it. No, not having it. I like the experience on this one. And Matt Sinus says, it definitely seems like this is one of the most experienced staffs that we've had since the Super Bowl team for sure. 10 Cam says, good morning. Halsey says, can we talk about QB2 options that are not older than Matt Ryan, being that quarterbacks get hurt a lot and QB2 may need to play a lot? Yeah, we can. We'll get into that at 2. TJ's here. Says, what it do? What it do, Bird Gang? Troy says, how live are we? We're super live. We've been going, let's see, what's my clock say? We've been going 10 minutes. So you were here on time. I was a few minutes late today, so apologies. TJ says, give that like button a good hit. Yep, and subscribe. Knocking on the door at 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. That would be a really nice way to a nice number to break here over the next several weeks. And I think we can do it. The Senior Bowl stuff coming, picking up a lot of new subscribers on that as well. Hey guys, it's cold out here. Dogs 1988 says Mike Penix said he runs the plays that are called, basically saying he can play under center. Scott, what do you think of that interview? I didn't see that interview, but Dog 1988, if you've watched me at all, I just completely bristle at he can't go under center. That's just flat BS. I mean, they've been going under center for 100 and something years with stiff old dudes that can't run a lick, and you tell me a professional athlete in 2025 can't play under center? Baloney, and if you're trying to protect the team, that's fine. I understand, being that, hey, listen, we don't trust our right tackle we want to be back there where we've got options to get the ball out quickly where he's already back there, because we don't trust our pass protection. We don't trust the right tackle. You're not going to say that. But it's not any better to intimate that your quarterback can't play under center. That's nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense. So I never bought it. I didn't see the interview, but I'm not surprised in the least. Y'all know I've bristled about that since anytime someone ever said, kind of like, oh, that receiver, doesn't know the route tree. Well, it's not hard to learn. I've seen that about some guys too. Michael Baxter, good morning, Scott, and everyone on Atlanta Falcons X. I appreciate you, Michael. Hope you're doing well. And Sam, good to see you, Sam. Hope you're doing well. This is the hires as a whole look promising. And speaking of which, and JTB says I like the staffs too. Let me hear. I got a question here. I don't want to talk general manager because we haven't talked that at all either. Jeremiah Cruz says, Scott, does it worry you that the new offensive coordinator only averages 17 points per game? Well, what he averaged at Alabama, I mean, it's not quite apples to oranges with college to pro, but Cleveland to Atlanta is apples and oranges. So no, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, picture the Kirk Cousins trade and giving up 6 draft picks for it. The Falcons gave up a 5th, double Kirk Cousins guaranteed money. Throw in 6 draft picks, have him not play. Kirk Cousins actually played. I mean, he's got a winning record as a player. Have him not play, and then tell me how things went. Tell me how things go. Oh, and by the way, you're with one of the losingest organizations. You're already with one of the losingest organizations in the NFL. And then you do that. No, they never had a chance. They never, that coaching staff, that team, those players, they never stood a chance. So no, it doesn't bother me. Going to some Senior Bowl stuff. Jay Olson says, Diego Pavia isn't getting drafted. He will never be a pocket passer, and the only way he can see his receivers is play action. People are so quarterback crazy that it wouldn't surprise me if he got drafted, but no, I don't consider him an NFL prospect. But what he is really good at, I wouldn't mind having him on my team as a scout team guy or whatnot, because when it came to prospects at the Senior Bowl, it wasn't a great year for quarterbacks. Let's be straight about that. Lefty Cole Mason was probably my favorite quarterback there as far as prospect goes. Kid from North Dakota State, big, can run, really good left arm, another lefty. But I wouldn't take him before like round 4. But Pavia is 5'9" and 7/8. But I'll tell you what, you know who moved the ball the best in teams? Diego Pavia. You know who got the ball to the receivers the best in drills and stuff? Diego Pavia. So that doesn't, it's like, well, doesn't that mean he should be able to play? No, it doesn't. One of my all-time and arguably the best college quarterback I ever saw, well, both of them were Florida Gators actually, was Danny Werfel and Tim Tebow. But they weren't NFL prospects. Tim Tebow took too long to get rid of the ball, had that big, huge looping release. And Danny Werfel just didn't have the arm strength. That didn't take away from what they were able to do in college. And having Diego Pavia out there at Senior Bowl, made it so they could at least run an offense during drills. So I think he'll make it to the NFL, but I just don't see him being really a contributor, except, I don't know I don't know how he even gets in. He gets in and does some stuff and become one of those preseason heroes where everybody's saying, we need to play, as soon as the guys struggle, we need Pavia. You see a little bit of that with Stetson Bennett, and Stetson Bennett's a better prospect than Diego Pavia. We still have people calling to trade for Stetson Bennett here to the Falcons. Stetson was a 4th-round pick, may never play a meaningful down in the NFL, but is probably really good at the things that I just said Pavia was, which is running a team, which is running a scout team on that. So let's talk a little bit about Ian Cunningham. This is a guy that we picked from the very beginning. This is going to be the guy. I'm fully confident that a lot of people in Flowery Branch knew that. It's like, oh, you're going to hire him. You're going to hire this guy. You're going to hire a coach before you hire the general manager. Man, they zeroed in on him. Ian Cunningham was not surprised by the Kevin Stefanski hire. He was talked about it. They were talked about it. What I don't understand is why the Chicago Bears don't get two 3rd-round draft picks out of it. And I've only seen, and he's good, Ari Maroff. We've quoted him on here several times, but I haven't seen it on some of the bigger networks, ESPN, NFL Network, talking about that they don't get because he's not the primary decision maker in the Atlanta Falcons organization, which is nonsense. Matt Ryan's not the general manager. He oversees everything. The guy doing the drafting, the scouting, the free agents, and all that stuff, that's the general manager. That's Ian Cunningham. And they're saying because he's not the primary decision maker. Well, Arthur Blank's a primary decision maker. It's nonsense. The other thing that's nonsense is Chicago Bears fans giving the Atlanta Falcons a bunch of crap. I'm going to change the background on this here real quick, so I have a little bit better contrast. There we go. That Bears fans the Falcons knew what they were doing. It's like Bears fans. And again, Twitter comments are the wrong place to have decent discord and conversations with people. I saw somebody say it's hard to, be funny and have conversations on X when people are just there to be mad. People on social media are there to be mad. They're not going to find you very funny. They knew what they were doing. The guys, it wasn't coming from the Falcons. Well, this is a way to keep their opposition down. Man, if you think they fired Rich McKay to hire Matt Ryan for some 4D chess so that they could get Ian Cunningham without the Bears getting 2 3rd-round picks, bro, you got to take the tinfoil hat off. That is insane. The Falcons needed to get rid of him. You've got an 80-something-year-old owner who just put himself another step away from the action so he's not as involved. That's what that was about. It had nothing to do with, let's see how we can screw the Bears out of a couple picks. Good Lord, how can you be so self-absorbed to think that's even remotely possible that that's the case? No, the NFL is screwing you for some sort of technicality that I really don't understand, and you are getting screwed. Had nothing to do with the Falcons, y'all. Let me get back to this and see if we have any questions on this. Oh, yeah, I'll stop doing that. When I switch and check things, the video freezes. That's something new from Chrome. When I go and click on a tab and check on something, the video freezes up. So I'll be real hesitant in doing that. If I click over here and I look at this roster for national team to check the roster, the video freezes. Well, that just started happening. If that keeps happening, we'll start using a different browser. So apologies on that. Let me see here. Sam goes, we'll hit on some of the and I'll just pull up my roster by hand now, look through it. Now that you've had a chance to go through the video, who are some of your favorite guys? The one places I haven't really looked are as far as like learning the players as like linebackers and DBs, because I've been looking at the offensive line, quarterbacks, wide receivers. Well, that's pretty much it. And defensive line, obviously, which is 90% of what you're there for. The linebackers and running backs, you just don't get a good feel for what they're capable of doing in that setting. They're not allowed to tackle. And all the practices you go to, they're not allowed to tackle. And I'm not talking about just Senior Bowl. I'm talking about period. You're like, oh, man, this team can't tackle worth a damn. Well, when do they practice tackling? They don't. The only time that teams tackle is games. That's it. But a couple of the wide receivers that I really liked. I'm biased towards a big wide receivers. You know that. Is from the American team, the Notre Dame kid. He's the one I put on the front of this podcast, Malachi Fields. So the kid's a unit. He's 6'4", and let me see here. I'm going to put it by game number. He's measured 6'4" and 218 pounds, and had one of the biggest wow plays. I think some of y'all saw this already. I'm gonna post it again. This is Taylor Green, the Arkansas quarterback. Watch this where he lets go of this ball. Off his wrong foot from the 30. That ball's going to land on the 10. Except 6'4" and 220 pounds of Malachi Fields caught it. The other receiver I really liked was Jacoby Lane from USC, from the USC Trojans. He looked big time to me, and I know he's if he runs somewhere in the 4.55 or under, I'm gonna love him. We had that conversation. Y'all remember, some of you old timers, we talked about Christian Watson. He had a really good. I said if he's under 4.5, under 4.6, I like him. If he's under 4.5, I love him. Then he goes out and runs like a 4.38. I don't think Jacoby Lane is going to run that fast, but he comes in at like 6'4", 200 pounds, and he is he's just a natural ball catcher. There's no better way to say than he's just a natural receiver. His body control and hands are next level. It looks like it's just a reflex. Like he catches the ball the same way he blinks or breathes. It's like, oh, ball, yeah, reach out, catch it. There's no fighting the ball. There's no sound when it hits a ball. It doesn't matter where it is. He can go up, elevate, spin, and come down with it. Now, I saw a streak up the left side that I thought he could have done a little better on as far as effort goes. And I went, maybe that's the chink in the armor. Maybe that's the competitiveness, the Drake London dog in him for contested catches. Is he going to go up and is he going to fight? I don't know. I haven't watched him enough. But in that setting, what I saw, Jacoby Lane was really, really good. Offensive line, there were several guys. I'm probably freezing again, y'all. I apologize as I'm looking over at this. From the national team, I already mentioned Bell, and he was, let's see, he's not listed right here because I've got it sorted by number. I've got it on the wrong team. Markel Bell, he was 6'8" and 340 pounds. He didn't measure. That's why he didn't measure while he was there, but that's what he was listed on the, and he's going to be somewhere in there listed on the official roster from Miami. His teammate, James Brockermeyer at center, was probably the best offensive lineman there. I won't even say probably. He was the best offensive lineman there. But he's like, undersized at about, I think he's 6'3", 300 pounds. But he was great feet, great hands, all of those type of things. So big fan of him as well. On the defensive side of the ball, the edge guys I really like Zion Young from Missouri. He's a little bit bigger than Derek Moore from Michigan. Two of the guys that I really liked on the edge. So lots of guys, plenty to talk about here. Let's see here as we go. Psalm, yep, talking about different moves. Zach Robinson is now the offensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, if your job was on the line, would you want Zach Robinson? And make no mistake, Todd Bowles' job is on the line this year. There was some thought that, he might not make it through this cycle, and we would have had 12 coaches getting fired, for goodness sakes, or stepping down or whatnot. But 12 coaching changes, 11 coaching changes. So would you want Zach Robinson as your offensive coordinator if your job was on the line? What do you think Raheem Morris would say if we asked him that question? D-Mac talking a little bit about Penix Jr. He says sometimes he looks like he's afraid to get hurt. I mean, they're all a little scared. I won't say afraid to get hurt. I'm just gonna say he lacks the calmness in the pocket and under pressure the movement in the pocket that a longtime veteran like Kirk Cousins has. You can see the difference. Cousins keeps his eyes downfield, moves within, has a feel of the pocket, and he should. He's been in the league for 15 years. That hopefully will come with time, with experience, with trust, all of those things. But he's got to stay healthy in order for any of those to come together. And that's the scary part about Penix. Some guys develop it, some guys don't. You don't know until you know. But what I do know is he'll never get it if he can't get on the field. So can he become a more poised passer in the pocket? Yeah, he can. Is it one of his strengths now? Absolutely not. It's not. His strength is he's got a howitzer of a left arm that is able to make throws that 25 other quarterbacks in the NFL cannot. That's his strength. Now, where do you go from there? We'll see. John says, what are your thoughts on quarterback Drew Aller or the kid from North Dakota State? I haven't watched Drew that much from Penn State. The kid from North Dakota State, I just watched a lot of, and solid. He's got a very strong left arm, pretty mobile. He's yoked up. He looks like Tebow out there, and can run a little bit. So I thought if I'm picking a quarterback for long term, I'm going to give this guy a 4-year contract. He'd probably be my number one pick out of the 6 that were there, and then it might have been Nussmeier after that, maybe. It wasn't a great crew. Let's be honest here. James, he says, good morning from icy Maryland. Good morning, right back at you. Mississippi Soldier, what positions do you think we target in free agency? That's a great question. It's been so quiet on Caden Ellis, it makes me nervous. Falcons need a linebacker, and I think you can get quality for fairly cheap. I mean, remember, Caden Ellis and Divine Diablo were both, I say only $7 million. You can get quality linebacking for under 5. Falcons need 2. They need 2 They need 1 for sure, and then if Caden leaves, they need 2. And I want experience there. So I want linebacker. I want a wide receiver in free agency. I want a cornerback in free agency, and I want a defensive tackle in free agency. And the Falcons will have money to do this. They're going to be in the neighborhood of $50 million after they do things. And remember, the lowest cost on a salary cap is this year, is year 1. So they can, if they do this, then they can start weaning off Kirk Cousins money. They'll go from 22.5 dead on Kirk Cousins this year to 12.5 in 2027, and then that'll be gone. Well, 12.5 is a lot of money. That's a quality starter. But for me, I want a wide receiver. I think if I could take one player that's at a Pro Bowl level for this team and make them better, who would it be other than quarterback? Who would it be? I think a wide receiver. When I've got a banged up Drake London and then David Sills and Dylan Drummond out there, my wide receiver options are not good. Some of y'all might say, what defensive tackle might be the biggest need. I would argue against that. I'm not saying you're wrong. None of us are wrong on that. A big run-eating defensive tackle is a big need, but I think we've got competency at defensive tackle right now in Atlanta, whereas after Drake London, you did not have that at wide receiver. And there was just such a huge drop-off after Drake. I mean, you got practice squad guys, literally, that were wide receivers 2 and 3. Cornerback for me is a good one. I think Mike Hughes is a 3, not a 2. So I think you can look there. But also, I want the first 2 picks to be amongst wide receiver, defensive tackle, and cornerback in rounds 2 and 3 coming up. Now, you can get quality at wide receiver, defensive tackle, at corner in the 2nd round. Then in the 3rd round, it gets a little bit harder, but you can still do it at cornerback and wide receiver. But then that's when you can start looking at non-premium positions when you get to the 4th round. And a 4th round tight end, a 4th round linebacker, a 4th round guard, a 4th round safety. Those are pretty well spent. A non-premium pick on a non-premium player is basically the equivalent of a premium pick on a premium player. Does that make sense? So if I use a day 2 pick on a non-premium position, which is tight end, safety, interior offensive lineman, running back. I'm forgetting one in there. Then that's a high pick. A day 2 pick, even a 4th round pick on a non-premium position is a high pick. And of the non-premium positions, linebacker is probably the number one. Otherwise, your premium positions that you need a wide receiver, you need a cornerback, you need an interior defensive lineman. Those are the big three for me. And I want one of each in free agency and the NFL draft on that one. Let's see as we go down here. What's it say? Shrouded Dragon 5579. Well, you're right after my own heart. Between the tiger and all the dragon stuff, I mean, all the books I'm reading right now are about dragons. So we're like right here together on this stuff. And on a Falcons podcast, we should hang out. They'll draft Pavia and then draft Nussmeier. Idiotic team. Now, who would use picks late on 3rd round and 5th round quarterbacks? Who would do something like that in the same draft when they're spending $250 million on a quarterback already? That was the Browns. Yeah, that was the Browns on that. Morgan says, who do you think the best cornerback prospect we would be able to get? Morgan, this will be a good discussion for Wednesday. We're going to do our first big mock draft, post-Senior Bowl mock draft and all that stuff on Wednesday when Nick's here. He'll know these guys beyond the Senior Bowl a lot better than me. So we'll save that for Wednesday. So make sure you come back. JTB says, I wouldn't mind having Jameis Winston hold it down while Penix gets healthy. There's a lot of people that are still pissed at Jameis for that last touchdown. I don't know. Jameis is Jameis. I think he's fun. I wouldn't mind have Jameis be the number 2 quarterback here. I could get over that. I could live with that, on a fairly, he's not going to be overly expensive. I'm not going to click on it and see what he was, but he's not that expensive. He was under $10 million. So, let's see here. John Boy coming in. He says, good morning, Scott. Love the show. You're now a Monday morning habit. Well, good. Hopefully that's a good habit. And we try and have a little fun here. We'll get a little pissed off every now and then. I mean, we are, this is a fanatics show, and it is the Falcons. And the Falcons do a lot of things that'll make you mad. It just happens. Dogs 1988 says, wasn't Ian already scouting at the Senior Bowl with Ryan Poles before he got the job? Hopefully he was scouting for his new team. I know the Falcons had a bunch of scouts there already. I only saw one while I was there, but I wasn't looking for scouts. I just happened to be on the NFL side of things filming this year because the sun was in my eyes on the other side. So I'd look and see it at logos and stuff. So I know the Falcons were there. And I said this before, Dogs 1988, your scouting period, if I've been doing this, I already have a pretty good idea. If I'm going to be hired as a scout, I already know these guys. I'm not going to hire a guy that hasn't looked at any of these guys before. Whether I'm scouting for this team or scouting for my next team, I'm still scouting. I don't just forget all of that stuff. Now, I might have to leave my database and all that stuff behind, but I still have a pretty good idea the 5 to 8 players I'd like to target based on which rounds. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to think that Mel Kiper was amazing. And then I started doing recruiting. He's got 300 guys to watch. Hell, I was overseeing 2,500. I had 300 guys in the state of Georgia. And when you do it for a living, that's what you do day in, day out, 365 days a year. And it's multiple years. You're like, oh, wait until you see the sophomore. Now it's freshmen and 8th graders, but Eric Berry came to the very first camp I ever had. He was a sophomore quarterback. He had just won Player of the Year in his county. Eric Berry was there. Well, he brought some teammates with him that were younger too. So I see these guys. So you start building a Rolodex of players in different years that when you do this for a living, you can run through 1,000 guys pretty easy and know who they are and what you think. Now, a lot of it to me after that becomes background information. Okay, I like him. Now I want to find out, should I take him or not? And that's what these next couple months are good for. So there's plenty of time before the draft. That's why I wasn't ever taking the first draft from Terry Fontenot was pretty bad. Well, you didn't have a whole lot of time. Well, what was he doing beforehand? That's just not an excuse. Well, he had the Falcons scouts. Well, then that's on him too. He should have taken the job if he wasn't allowed to bring in the players he wanted. It was just a bad draft. Own it. It's okay. No more excuses. He got better, but coming in, it was not a good draft, and there's no excuse for that. I don't care when you come in. You shouldn't get the job if you don't already know these guys. Eddie, where are you coming in from? He says, good evening, Scott. It's definitely morning here. Here's another little piece of news that we haven't hit on too. Like I said, there's a lot been going on. Raheem Morris was one of the final candidates for the Arizona Cardinals job. That one went to Mike LaFleur of the Rams, which always made more sense to me anyway. That I was like, wait, Matt, Mike. Someone says you don't know the difference between Matt and Mike. I'm like, no, I'm confused. Why would Matt LaFleur be an option? Well, he wasn't. He turned out that he wasn't. But Mike got hired as the Arizona Cardinals head coach. So that leaves, like, from the big six from the 2016 staff, that leaves just Jeff Ulbrich, who has not been a head coach for so far. And maybe that's coming. We'll see. He might just be one of those mad scientist defensive guys. It's harder for defensive guys to get head coaching jobs. But since Raheem Morris did not get the Arizona Cardinals job, he has hooked up with Kyle Shanahan back in San Francisco. And hopefully for Raheem, he gets to follow the Robert Saleh route, do a really good job for a year there, and then he's back in it next year. It might need 2 years, because I don't think you're going to turn over 11 teams again. There's not going to be nearly as many openings. Most of these 11 teams, 10 teams will get at least 2 years before they make changes. And they'll make changes. There will be lots of changes on that one. Here we go. Troy Green, he says, yeah, Fields, yeah, the dude is a stud. Yeah, he's I was impressed. He's a unit too. I mean, 6'4", 220 pounds with great hands. Very curious to see where he ends up going and how that plays out. D-Max says, Scott, do you think the Falcons will draft a bigger defensive tackle? I don't know if they'll draft one, but I think they'll have one. You target one in free agency, and I don't know that you always need more. You know, what movie was that? Some money movie. I don't remember which one it was. They said, what's your number? Oh, more. It may have been The Big Short. That's my number. More. You always need more, but I think the Falcons are, compared to other places on their roster, will be solidified with one more good-sized defensive tackle. One guy that's 320 plus, who can move around a little bit. You know, LaCale has done a good job. LaCale London has done a good job. Contavious Street, I don't think he's quite that big. But the Falcons have a lot of guys in that 290 to 300 range that can also branch out at end. Zach Harrison, Brandon Dorless, they're not true inside run stuffers, but they're really good penetrators. They're really good with their quickness. They need a big dude. They need a guy in there that can eat up a double team and let everybody else fly around. I don't know if they'll draft him, but I'll be shocked if they don't get one through free agency or the draft on that. Matt Scientist says, it's still wild to me that so many coaches got fired this year. Yeah, there were some, I mean, there's 3 in there that just like, what? And who are those 3? The Bills, the Steelers, and they didn't fire Tomlin, but he may have been fired and was asked to walk away for a year. I mean, there was some animosity there. They don't fire coaches there. And we're not going to fire you, but you can't coach here anymore. And then the Ravens, you know, those were all 3 pretty big surprises. You know, Falcons, we weren't surprised. Cardinals, we weren't surprised. Raiders were a disaster. Who else was out there? Browns. we can loop that back into. I've already forgotten some of the teams that were even open. There were so many of them. Who am I forgetting out there? Saw him talking about, he says, heard rumors that he would be ready week 1. What do you think, Scott? Are we talking about Penix? If we're talking about Penix here, y'all know what I said, and like maybe you don't, or else you wouldn't ask. If they say 9 months, that means 9 months to game time. So they expect him to be ready in 9 months. Well, that puts you right around end of August, beginning of September, when you're ready for game time. And I always, again, there's so many people that just pop off and they don't really think about what they're saying. You know, oh man, Michael Penix is out for 9 months. He's not out for 9 months, maybe out of games for 9 months, but you're not playing for 9 months. He's already working out. He's already doing physical activities. People heard 9 months, they made it sound like he was in a wheelchair for 9 months. No, guys, I think maybe it's people that haven't played that are talking like this because guys, I mean, I've gone through injuries. I've had most of them. I've probably broken a dozen bones. I've tore up a knee. And you watch these guys. What is an ACL? Now, a standard ACL for a non-quick twitch player, he should be back to full strength at 9 months. Now, the scary part is what does full strength mean for a guy who's already done his knee done one knee twice and then done another knee? That's the part that's scary. Is full strength ever going to be good enough? Is 100% healthy ever going to be good enough? Is he durable enough? This knee injury is not what's going to preclude him from playing next year. It's the fact that he keeps getting injured. That is what's going to, that he's played 7 seasons as a starter and he's only finished 2 of them. That's the scary part. Not that he did a knee. Guys do knees all the time, especially quarterbacks. If he was a corner or a running back or a wide receiver, we'd be having a different conversation. For those guys, it typically takes 18 months to get back to 100%. Michael Penix doesn't need his knee and his quick twitch and his ability to run and change directions to be 100% for him to be 99% effective as a quarterback. He's going to do almost all the things that he would normally do in the offseason. They don't hit anyway, and they'll do, they may do a little bit of less waggles, but he'll be out there on the field and depending on what they let him do, but he would be capable of doing OTAs, throwing the ball come this spring and summer. So I've always assumed, and y'all have heard me say, who's your quarterback? Michael Penix. I think Michael Penix is your starter. And I will be a little surprised if it's not in September. I will be a little surprised if it's not in September. Dirty Bird Star, thank you for being a member. He says, how did you feel about, is it Keelan or Kalen? Looks like Keelan to me. Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech. Would he possibly be on our radar in the draft? Dirty Bird Star, with a lack of picks, interior offensive line isn't really on my radar unless it's a guy that just falls right in your lap. James Brockermeyer would be that guy for me. He was the only one that I thought was good enough to be like, okay, it's third round here. This was the best center we saw. I mean, I've seen Creed Humphreys there. He was really good. Rutledge was good. He was good. He'll get drafted and he'll probably be a mid-round pick. And I think he had a good week. But he's not somebody I would advocate for the Atlanta Falcons just because they don't necessarily need interior offensive line as a draft pick when your draft picks are so few and far between. Now, if I've got 12 picks, yeah, maybe I take a flyer and build some depth there. But Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech had a good week. And no, I don't think he would be on the Falcons' radar just because there's so many other needs with so few options. Again, there's 5 picks right now. If you trade down every time and double your picks, I trade down from 48 to 51 and pick up a 5th round pick and he's there, maybe then. But no, I don't think he's on our radar. But he had a good week. He had a really good week. I was happy for him. King Atlanta supporter. He says the Falcons will be Super Bowl champions. Well, we're waiting. We're waiting. We're at 60 years. So, hey, this is the year. No, well, I don't expect it to be this year. And wouldn't it be funny if Ray McLeod came back? Don't expect that one either. Let's see. I'm about 15 minutes behind on the comments. Roy Freeman says, what could we get for Drake London? A haul. You could get a haul. And if Ian Cunningham comes in and says, this team, we need a rebuild, he's your most valuable trade piece. You could get 2 first-rounders, save yourself $30 million from the extension you're about to have to give him, and probably a couple more picks. You could get probably 3 picks, 2 first-rounders, some extra, and a bunch of salary cap room that you didn't have to spend. And then there's no guarantee with 2 first-round picks and $30 million that you would be able to replicate a legitimate wide receiver one who is beloved in your community, who is beloved by the Falcons franchise, that who is a leader on this team. So you could get a haul, but the only way this happens is if his camp has given you indications that he will not sign a contract extension. He's coming up on his 5th-year option. And yeah, 5th-year option. This is good because this was Kyle's 5th-year option. This will be Drake's. He'll play on his 5th-year option. I expect him to get an extension. I would want it done before the draft. I would want it done here before in the next 2 months before the draft. That's the only way you even think about shopping Drake London is if you've gotten indications from his camp that he wants out. And then you move him. And then you come up and you after you trade him, you say, listen, we love Drake. We wanted him to be an Atlanta Falcon for life. He's from the West Coast. He's homesick. And he wanted to try someplace else. Love him and good luck. And we got a good haul for him. And we're looking forward to moving these players. It's the only way. This is the only way for me. Interested to think what you think. I mean, I think we overvalue draft picks to a certain extent, as far as like, oh, we could get 2 first-rounders. Yeah, but if you took 2 first-rounders and got 1 Drake London, you'd be pretty happy on that. I think we overvalue the first round for sure. On that one. Let's see here. Daniel says, hey, Scott, appreciate you tons. Do you still believe Penix is the guy? Daniel Keenan. Now, this is a loaded question. Do I still think that Michael Penix is the starting quarterback for this team and he will get the chance to prove that he is the guy? Yes, I do. I think the Falcons won't be able to get anybody in free agency. There probably won't be anybody free agency. There rarely is to get a franchise quarterback in free agency. And one, there may not be a franchise quarterback in this draft, period. And they don't have a first-round draft pick anyway. And I certainly don't want them reaching at 13 for a guy. Good Lord. So, therefore, Michael Penix will get the chance by default, even if he wasn't a number 8 pick and you invested a bunch in him already. So, I think he is the starting quarterback for this team. If all of his recovery goes well, there's no setbacks, and he's healthy, he's a quarterback as soon as he is physically capable of being so. After that, no, I don't believe he's the guy. I think he'll get a chance to prove it. So we'll see. It's still very much wait and see on Michael Penix. Can he stay healthy? Can he take the steps forward and turn a lot of that potential into performance for some of the things? And the big one for me is his poise under pressure. For whatever reason, might not be Penix, could be, the protection was bad, the play calling was bad. When I see a blitz coming and I'm watching from behind the end zone and we see a play like this, and there's a blitz coming and you can see the blitz coming, it's obvious. They snap the ball, and as soon as someone breaks containment and is applying pressure to Michael Penix, if I see the back of 4 jerseys in the routes, that's a fail. Penix has no chance. Now, is it Penix's job to make sure that you are audibling and recognizing the blitz pre-snap and getting to a hot route too? So all of that, some of it's on Zach Robinson. Penix not playing well ends up being on Zach Robinson. He's the one that got fired. But Penix has to have better pre-snap recognition, and he has to be calmer under pressure. Those have to happen even once he is 100%. And I want to see that happen on that one. So, but no, I don't believe he's the guy. No, I haven't seen that. I'm in wait and see mode on that one for sure. Let's see. Buck's Skull Gang House, how are you? I'm doing good. How are you? He's got a question for 2 of the free agents. Do you think Pitts or Tyler comes to the Bucks? Good question. I think Kyle Pitts will be franchise tagged, and then we'll see from there. So I expect Kyle Pitts to be a Falcon next year. If not, they're going to get a good trade for him. Then it would be a tag and trade. And so my guess for Kyle Pitts is he is with the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Kevin Stefanski is a very tight end friendly offense too. So I expect Kyle Pitts to be Atlanta Falcon. I don't see any reason why Tyler Algier would want to go to Tampa and back up Bucky Irving. He can do that in Atlanta. So I think he gets a chance. He'd want a chance to be the lead guy somewhere else. And what's funny is I see these running back rankings, and my God, is he underranked. I bet you he's coming in like 8 or 9 in free agent running backs. I bet you he's not the 8th or 9th highest paid guy that comes out of this group. I bet you right now. So I will say no, it wouldn't make sense for me. And I don't think the Algier family really liked playing for Zach Robinson on that one anyway. So no, I don't think Pitts or Tyler ends up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Tyler's gone, but I think he's going somewhere where he can go into camp as the number 1 running back. That's not going to happen in Tampa. Tampa's already got a good running back. If he wants to be a backup, a running back too, he might as well stay in Atlanta. So that's the way I see that one. Let's see. Trenton, this is a longer question, but he's a member. I want to make sure we get to this one. He says, Scott, you see it as a scout. I see it as a fan. London and Roberts answer. This is the questions. The punctuation's throwing me off here. See it as a fan. On Roberts' answer, DT, Bowman, Bryant, Henderson, Phillips, Mooney, and Drake. Wide receiver, penetrator, QB. McGarry is our tackle. We are fine. Drake is at about 18, or Darnell Mooney is about $18 million and was a complete bust last year. I'll be absolutely floored if he's not cut. I'll be just shocked if Mooney on there. As far as the defensive tackles go, as far as cornerbacks go, Bryant, Henderson, Phillips, that's not good enough. Bryant is an undrafted free agent who has struggled expectedly. Phillips hasn't been able to get on the field, and Henderson is not under contract. He wasn't signed to a multi-year deal. He was a practice squad guy. So the depth at cornerback is poor. It's poor. I'd like to see someone brought in that is similar level to AJ Terrell, and that moves everybody down a notch. That moves Mike Hughes to number 3. And then all of a sudden things look pretty good. Feel the same way with wide receivers. They need 2 wide receivers. They were going in. Darnell Mooney was a legitimate number 2, and Ray McLeod was coming off a career year. Those guys disappeared in 2025. So they need 2 wide receivers on this one. Let's see here. We're just about to come into it here. Sam Clunt says, Lee Hunter is a guy I want for us at 48. Yeah, Lee Hunter played his way. He's a defensive tackle from Texas Tech. He had a great week. I'm sorry, I'm going to freeze on this, but I do want to see it. He wore number 10. I'm going to scroll up and it's going to freeze. Apologies. And then we'll come back and it's the wrong team on top of that. So we're going to freeze a little longer. Lee Hunter came in at 6'3.5", 320 pounds. He didn't play like it. He did not play like it. I think that maybe if I looked it up, I forgot. But my instincts watching him is that anywhere's at 10. He might be a little undersized. They say, you've heard me say film doesn't lie. Yes, it does. So do your eyes. They can lie. That's why you need statistics and data to back it up. He played like he was 6'1", 290 and cat quick. He played a little bit like Braden Fisk played 2 years ago with that first step of his. Not quite the same get off, but he's 25 pounds heavier than Fisk was there. Yeah, I don't think he's going to last a 48, dude. But if Lee Hunter was there at 48, 6, what'd I just say? Was it 6'3.5", 320 pounds? Yeah, 6'3.5", 320 pounds. And he's got really, really long arms too. I've got a rep on here. I sent it around. I don't have it. I'm not going to show it here. I'll look it back up, but he gets an initial punch. It was on Bo Stevens, the center from He was the center from Iowa. Had a good week, but he gets the initial punch on him and gets him on his back, and then he reaches out and just puts his hand right in the middle of his chest and just pushes him back. And Stevens is off balance and he's just flailing. It looks like he's doggy paddling because he can't reach him. He cannot touch him with his hands because his arms aren't long enough. I'm like, huh. So that's why they measure arm length. It was just super impressive to watch. Loved it. And yes, if Lee Hunter's there at 48, all day, man, all day, I'd take him. Oh, we need a wide receiver. We need a corner. You need a defensive tackle too, and he's amazing. You need good players, especially at premium positions. So I'd be really, really happy here. And Bucks, I got to this one. Thank you for the super, my friend. Who do you think? Do I think that the Bucks get Tyler or Kyle Pitts? No. And again, that's nothing against Tampa Bay. It's just that I think the Falcons keep Pitts, or you're going to have to trade for him in a big way. And if it's in division, it's going to be more than you want to trade for because they'll tag him like, oh, he's a free agent. Yeah, he ain't a free agent yet. You got to get to March before he's a free agent. And they'll tag him before then. And then Tyler, like I said, I just don't think that makes sense that he's going to go be a running back to someplace else. It's a great question though, and I've seen those links before. Does it make sense? David E. Thomas, Scott, Super Bowl before we hit the nursing home. I hope it'd be nice to win one. We've seen a couple once a generation, 1998 and 2016. I remember them both. And that the problem, I get so mad about that 98 team, you know, and I went to Mobile with the Mile High Huddle, Denver Broncos publisher, good friend of mine, Chad, and we're talking about it. And I said, we just got robbed of what should have been an epic Super Bowl. That 14-2 Falcons team was top 5 on offense, top 5 on defense. And they celebrated their Super Bowl after they beat that Vikings team and didn't show up. He's like, you don't think that Falcons team would have beaten, you know, the other 14-2 back, you know, defending Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos team? I said, I'm not saying that. They could have. I'm not saying they would have. I'm saying we didn't get to see what should have been an epic Super Bowl because they didn't show up. That pisses me off. It's only been 30 years. I'm still mad. So, we got coming in Keenan. Look at Keenan coming in. He says, becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, my friend. I will get back to doing some members only videos starting this week. Last week was a little hectic. As I go through some things, I'll start posting I post stream of conscious thoughts when news happens. And if you want members, if you want just, you know, single clips of guys that I like as I'm going through my video, hey, watch this. I can start posting those too, for y'all. So certainly appreciate it. CNNA 12392. Pitts is a bum. Let him walk. And that might be December 3rd, 1992. No, I'm not going to let him walk. I don't have to. I can tag him and I can trade him. So that might be what you mean, but I'm not letting him just walk. I'm going to get something for him if I don't want him. I'm not arguing that you don't like him and why you should. I'm not going to have that argument. I'm going to have the argument that I'm not letting him go for nothing. And that's usually what we mean when we say let him walk. I'm just going to let him go as a free agent. No, absolutely not. He is an asset now. You don't let assets just walk. So I'm tagging him. And then I am going to if you don't want to be there or I do want to get rid of him, then I'm going to trade him. And I'm going to get something for him on that. Who are we talking about as far as injury prone? I don't think what we're talking about here is injury prone. Last year was the only season that he missed a ton. Not sure who we're talking about on this one. Always with soft tissue injuries. Oh, it was Drake London. I don't consider Drake London injury prone. I'd look it up, but he hasn't missed a bunch of time. And one of the problems last year, when he missed soft tissue injury is the hospital ball he got on a slant. You know, they're putting him in harm's way, using him like a running back on some of that stuff too. So it was the Julio Jones thing. Using Julio Jones like a running back. He has 6 catches for 80 yards, and then he's gassed on the sidelines in the red zone. He needs help. Drake needs help. He's not injury prone. I don't know this one, though. Do we know if Stefanski traditionally plays starters in the preseason? I don't know. I didn't watch them in the preseason, so I don't know. Hopefully, new staff, new everything, that we'll see a little bit on there, especially on defense. They're young. Those guys need some reps. If Chris Lindstrom doesn't play, Jake Matthews doesn't play, fine. But some of the younger guys, there's no reason why, with a 98-man roster in the summer, the only guys playing are 50 through 90 on the roster. Cut and re-sign Cousins. It's not out of the question. That's not out of the question. He'll be released here shortly. And they reported that like it was news. The Falcons plan to release Kirk Cousins. No shinola. Yet we know that. Now, will they re-sign him? Maybe. It's not completely out of the question. Stefanski's coached him a ton. I think he probably wants a chance to go be the starter, though, without having for at least one more year. Where can I be the starter for 1 year? You're going to draft a guy, fine, but I want to be the starter for one more year. So that's what it's not completely out of the question, though. Let's see here. We're just about done. The Browns need a defensive tackle. And yes, Brian, the guy that we're mad at for the 19, but it was just as much on Dan Reeves, rest in peace. From what I heard, it wasn't just Eugene Robinson that was out partying. The whole team was out there. Wasn't that down in Miami that was treating South Beach like spring break for the entire week? So it wasn't just him. He's just the one that got caught. Michael Ronquillo, it's great to see you this morning, my friend. Hope you are doing well. Yes, Major says, is Troy Anderson still on this team come August? He's a free agent as well. So if he gets signed, it would be a Nate Landman type deal, $50,000 of guaranteed money on a 1.2 veteran minimum. Earn it and we'll re-sign you. So he is he's a free agent also. I think we've seen the last of, can anybody remember what he looks like in a Falcons uniform? I said we've seen the last of him, but it's been so long, I'm not sure I remember what it looks like. That one hurts. He, a lot of potential there, but doesn't do any good if you can't be out there. A1, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I see you on X in your live streams. I know you're killing it out there. He says, if you get something for Pitts, yeah, of course, you can let him walk. And the super's coming as I'm going down. Glad I was able to get this. See, I'll answer your questions even without the super, but I usually get to the supers first. Is Troy Anderson on this team come August? He would need to be re-signed. It was a guaranteed contract for the most part, I think, for his rookie deal. So him being there, but I'm looking forward to a new medical staff as well as part of this. Some strength and conditioning. That's the article I'm looking forward to write. So-and-so has been hired as strength and conditioning and performance coach for the Atlanta Falcons, because there was just some weird stuff going on with this team the last couple of years as far as health goes. Just weird. He's back. No, he's not. He's close. Oh, he's out for the season. Just weird. He suffered a setback. They all have suffered setbacks. Why? So, looking forward to that being down. The one and only Nicole, you look like you eat Snickers upside down so you can feel the veins. Okay. I think that's probably dirty. Curtis Case, GM Scott and Falcons Nation, I hope all is well. Very cautiously optimistic. This free agency and draft will be very telling as for what direction we'll be going. Curtis, thanks for being a member, my friend. Hope you're doing well. I've said before, how many of y'all have Super Bowl aspirations for 2026? Anybody? Do you even have playoff aspirations? It'd be nice, but I'm not going to judge this team in 2026 based on if they make the playoffs or not, 'cause I don't know what the hell they're doing at quarterback. If Penix comes back or if he's any good, those are two big question marks on the same guy. I don't know. 2028, and then if it's not, then you've got to reset and you've got a rookie quarterback in 2027. That means 2028 becomes a year. So Stefanski's got 3 years. Let's see what happens in 2026. Reset 2027, 2028. go again. I think it's on a 3-year timeline. So if I'm a brand new general manager and I know I don't have the team, I could save some of this stuff. I could trade down. I could pick up future picks. I could sit out the first round of free agency. And when some of my guys walk, I could pick up comp picks for 2027. But to your point, Curtis, depending on how they attack that, if they do that, that would be very telling. That would be saying, hey, listen, we don't think we've got the team to make a run in 2026. We're going to load up some assets for 2027. Okay. That's a strategy. You know, we're tired of missing the playoffs and losing teams here, but we understand, you know, what are we going to do about it? So it would be very telling. It would be very telling if they're aggressive in free agency. It says they feel pretty good about Michael Penix. It says that, so we'll see. We will see. Also, NFL players can't handle Miami. I did a camp down there and was hanging out with one of their younger players. He was actually the long snapper. He was working the camp there. He says when he first showed up, special teams coach says, "You married?" He goes, "Nope." He said, "You got a girlfriend?" "Nope." He goes, "Good, because neither one of those are very good things to have around here." Because you'll go out and get in trouble, and then there's too much drama in there. Yeah, Miami's different. JTB says, "Do you think Raheem will take any defensive players with him to San Fran?" You know, Leonard Floyd is a free agent, does a good job. But who else that are free agents? You know, that you're really worried about? Caden Ellis. Yeah. Caden Ellis is the one that worries me on the defensive side of the ball. Arnold Ebiketie, you know, they could use some edge depth there. That if you've got a chance, I don't think Ebiketie's earned a bunch of money, but he's a professional. He's a legit NFL player. He'll be on a roster. He could go to San Francisco too. That might be someone in there on there too. So I think we are just about to get out of here. Let me finish this off. Here we go. 10 Cam says this sounds too sentimental, but missing the Super Bowl in 2028 in Atlanta is going to feel like a missed opportunity. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. And Brian, yes, I remember this too. I just know that I woke up to the news of Eugene getting arrested, and I instantly knew we were going to get beat. Not just beat. Yeah, when the game's over before it even started. It's like, oh, that's what you guys are doing before the Super Bowl. That was rough. Better days. It's a long time. It was 30 years ago, and I'm still mad about it. Yeah, don't make this Irishman mad. I hold a grudge. All right, we're going to get out of here. Keenan, one more for our members, a new member at that. He says, I'm so happy we kept Coach Brick, my favorite coaching hire since I really became a full-time fan in 2017. You've had it rough. You've had it rough for those years. So we're going to get out of here. And Halsey says, what if there's a 2026 Purdy or Prescott in this draft? There might be. But as I've said before, trying to build your team on the exception to the rule is a way to have a bad team. You know, I'd have people say, you know, what do you know? You're you're not a coach. What do you know? You miss Brian Urlacher at the University of New Mexico. You don't know anything. Yeah, you take 25 guys with the resume of Brian Urlacher coming out of high school, and I'll take 25 five-star guys, and in 4 years, I'm going to beat you 100-0. The exceptions to the rule, they're out there. They're absolutely out there, and that's why it's nice to have multiple shots, because you might hit that 1 in 1,000. You might. But you can't build on the exception. There's processes on this. Bigger, faster, stronger, premium positions, rookie contracts, good coaching. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? On that note, we're going to get out of here. Keep your notifications on. If anything happens here in the next few days, we will go live again. Otherwise, we'll be back on Wednesday. I want to say thank you to my Super Chat superstars, including our Bucks fan coming in. Appreciate you coming in and having a good conversation with us. Yes, Major for sure coming in, asking about Troy Anderson, and then Keenan Hill becoming a new member. Be like him. be like Keenan Hill and become a member of the Falcons podcast on YouTube. Links in the description, and it's usually pretty much anywhere that you're watching it. You can find the join button. We do specific content for the members, and it's growing. So the people who have become members, I think, have enjoyed it and enjoy having these conversations with them. Also, keep an eye out. I'm done 8 Senior Bowl videos. I'll have 100. I'm going to do a bunch of them. I'll have at least 50 to 75 over the course of the next few weeks. So guys that you can keep an eye on, I'll have the spotlights on them. I'm going to go through and do the other 3 quarterbacks today and then move on to the wide receivers, because if I've got the quarterbacks, I've got the wide receivers. So those once I've logged those plays, he's got to throw to somebody. So I'll have all those done. So I'll go quarterbacks, wide receivers, and then I'll move to defensive linemen, then to offensive line, and then I'll do other skill positions after that. So I'm going to get out of here. We've been 70 minutes. I hope you all have had fun. I know I have. Have a great rest of your day. It's supposed to get warmer tomorrow. It's supposed to touch on 60, and then it's not supposed to get this damn cold for a while. So y'all have a great rest of your day. Appreciate y'all being here, and we'll see y'all on Wednesday.